Hi, welcome to the show. The VA loan is one of the best benefits a service member can use. It's an excellent wealth building tool, and there are a lot of misconceptions surrounding it. So today we brought in the mortgage magician herself, Ashley Bedford.
Thank,
Ashley, thank you for
thank
coming.
you so much for having me. I specialize in VA loans. It's super important to me to make sure that veterans know because only 14% of service and retired service members understand what their benefit actually is.
No, I can't appreciate you coming in enough. But let's go ahead and clear this up right away. Who actually gives away the VA loans?
So the VA doesn't. The VA just backs and secures the loan. So they're just basically saying if we have any loans that are going into default, for example, they're going to cover the lender. The lender is actually lending the money. So if you have lenders out there saying, we are the VA, that's not true. Simply not true. They're just trying to take advantage of you thinking that they are the VA.
So what you're saying is when you're going through the VA loan, they're basically just using the VA to cover down on what is it, 25% of the loan?
Yeah. So basically, if you were to go into foreclosure, they're securing it. So it's almost like mortgage insurance, right? Like, but you're not paying for it because as a veteran, you don't have mortgage insurance. You do have a funding fee if you're not exempt, but you don't have mortgage insurance. So they're just securing that loan if you were to go into foreclosure
Okay, so then why do so many companies make it sound like they are the VA?
to make you go with them.
Ooh. So would you call that misconception or just like a misunderstanding?
No, I definitely think it's misleading. And you'll see right now there's huge lawsuits for some big named companies. And so I think it's very, very misleading tactics.
Okay, so then does it matter which lender someone chooses for a VA loan, or are they all basically the same?
I mean, not all are the same. I highly suggest a broker. And again, I'll tell you over and over again, all brokers are not created the same either. I have a veteran just yesterday that did an application. I'm saving him $20,000 over what another person because they're just making so much in compensation that it's really ripping the veteran off a bit.
Absolutely. 25K, I'd take that.
Yeah.
What is the most dangerous misconception service members have about the VA loans?
They think that these companies are the VA, and so they're thinking, "Okay, well, I just have to pay these fees, pay this." And also another misconception is that, yes, it's 0% financing, but you do still have to pay your closing costs unless you negotiate the seller to pay them. That's how you roll it in, quote unquote, to your loan is by negotiating into the price with the seller. Otherwise, you do have to pay closing costs, and on average in Florida, closing costs are 4%.
That's a good point. That was actually my next question for you is like it's 0% down. It's like no money down loan, but that doesn't mean it's free, right? So how can a service member who's got a little bit saved up but kind of going just rent to rent, how can they actually uh, pull those costs into their loan and make it affordable?
Yeah, so let's say, for example, you're buying a $400,000 house, right? And you think that it's priced right and that you could probably get it up to 415. Okay, so you can ask for 15,000 seller concessions, buy the house for 415 because that $15,000 is maybe adjusting your payment 100 bucks, but then you're rolling that in so you could effectively walk into the house for your inspection cost and that's it. And your escrow deposit you can get back even though you do. So an escrow deposit is money that you have to put down to the seller to say a good faith that you're not going to walk away at the closing table, okay? There are plenty of opportunities to protect you and get you out because the VA is not going to let a seller just take your escrow. But if you're like, oh, just kidding, changed my mind, they're definitely going to get your escrow at that point because you didn't complete the contract. But otherwise, you can get that money back at closing too.
Awesome. So cool.
And super important things about the closing costs as well. Like, let's say a house is really undervalued or they're trying to just get it, the seller's desperate. A veteran can actually pay off their debt with the closing cost assistance. So that's super important to know. There's a myth that you can only get 4% closing costs from a seller. That is absolutely not true. The 4% rule is because only 4% can be used for other things besides closing costs. So if you get 10% from a seller, I can buy down your rate 6 points of that. And that's part of a closing cost. So I can utilize that money to get you down to like fours.
Okay, so someone not in the real estate or mortgage industry, what does a point mean?
So it's basically buying down your interest rate. And it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's not like, hey, you pay 1% and you get 1 point. That 1% could really mean like half a percent in rate, but it's 1% of the loan amount. So if you get that covered by the seller, then effectively you can have a much lower rate than current market.
That would really help out service members. So, what are some of the things that service members are told that just flat out aren't true?
Well, we already talked about the first one, that certain lenders are the VA associated with. That's simply not true. Um, Another one is that they can't get more than one house. Another one is that there's a loan limit for your first house, which is not true. You could buy as long as most lenders cap out at about $4 million in lending. But if you don't have any other VA loans right now, you could walk into a $4 million house with no money out of your pocket, genuinely.
I
And
can't
so,
imagine payments on that. Being
yeah. But listen, if you retire and have disability at a certain level, and have a job, you could be making it. So, um, but you can walk into something like that with no money down. Also, that let's say, for example, you're a service member and you bought a house when you were in Texas, right? And then after 12 months, you left that house, you rented it, and now rates have gone down. You can still use a VA IRRRL, which is an interest rate reduction loan, to refinance that house, even though it's an investment now. As long as you occupied it for 12 months at when you purchased it, you can refinance that on an IRRRL as many times as you want, even though it's an investment now. And a lot of people don't tell them that.
so much. Well, let's talk about saving that. What are the costs associated with doing an Earl?
So in Florida, it's kind of expensive because we have the most expensive closing costs for refinances. That's why do not fall for the spam letters. I tell all of my veterans in 210 days because in Florida, we're public record. Okay. So what that means is that everybody can see your mortgage. They can see who your mortgage was written by. They can see my name, all of it. Okay. They can see your loan amount, everything. They know what your rate is because the payment, all it is backward calculation. So that's why you get all these spam letters and they'll put your mortgage company's name at the top of the letter, and then in tiny, 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 tiny writing at the bottom, they say like their name of their company and they'll be like, you can get 4.75. But guess what? They're rolling in tons of buy down on that, which doesn't make your return on investment worth it. I had one client send me one that the return on investment was over 15 years. Most people aren't going to keep their mortgage for 15 years. And so just because you get something in the mail, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I had a client send me over and over their letters that they were getting, these spam letters. And then finally, we were able to refinance him when rates dipped, but it wasn't worth his return on investment because in Florida, like I said, we have to pay mortgage stamps, intangible taxes, which is your county and state recording fees, which are a significant amount, especially at your loan amount. And the VA does require a 36-month recoupment, which means your total closing cost divided by your total savings monthly has to equal 36 months or less, or you can't refinance. There are some protection because a lot of people were getting out of, especially people that English was their second language, elderly people. And so they were just thinking, man, I'm on a fixed income. I need to save money.
So, with everything being double checked like that, where do you think all this misconception, this misinformation is actually coming from?
I'm going to be honest with you. There's people even in my field that like give misinformation because they don't fully detail. So, and I might get a lot of grief for that, but it's truth. Like I tell people all the time, I don't make money by turning you away, but I'm telling you right now, this is not a good deal. And if you were my family, I wouldn't.
That was my next question, actually, is have you ever seen someone make a bad financial decision just because they were misinformed about the VA loan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a client that was my client and they got one of those letters and I told him, I was like, listen, they're going to the same lender I am. And I'm telling you, there's not a 36-month recoupment on this. You can't do this. And he called me. They got him clear to close because it doesn't get calculated until you're in the closing department. They got him clear to close. And then he called me. He's like, yeah, you close because of 36-month recoupment.
That is so frustrating. Like, just being a military member, former military member myself, is like, I don't know, I can't tell you how many times they've told me, "Oh, this is your out the door price." And then all of a sudden, you're in the closing table, you're out there, and where did this extra 6 grand come from? Where is a whole lot of misconception?
And a lot of people too, because they're like living paycheck to paycheck, and that's half of America, to be honest with you. We're all one paycheck away from losing, right? And so they thought they were going to skip a payment, and so they had prepared themselves mentally for that, thinking they're going to close because they're clear to close now, and then they're not. And so that can be really challenging, especially around like um where people are like, oh yeah, miss a payment this time, and I can afford to buy my kids Christmas presents.
And that's your point. That's exactly why we try to strategize and plan. Well, why do you think companies push VA loans in a way that doesn't always benefit the buyer
Money,
in
money,
long term?
money.
All about the bottom dollar, huh? Well, what should service members watch out for when choosing a lender?
Honestly, send me your loan estimate. I will review it. If I feel like you're getting a great deal, that's one thing about me is I will tell you, hey, this okay. Watch for fees and points and things like that. There are some restrictions. Make sure you're getting the best rate. Honestly, like don't go to ChatGPT. Run
Bingo.
from ChatGPT. Go to a professional.
So then let's get into it then. Like, what are the red flags that most people miss?
Section A, looking for large amounts. Okay. Um, if the rate says below a four or like in a four right now, it's not possible. Okay.
By saying?
Because they're going to put a bunch of fees and then they're going to tell you they can't close. Yeah. Disappointing.
Sneaky, sneaky. Watch out, guys. All right. Is there a difference between working with someone who specializes in VA loans versus someone who just offers them?
Absolutely. I know so many guidelines. Like I've had some recent service members that are exiting the military, and if you are exiting within 12 months on your LES on your ET date, you technically have no income. Okay. However, the VA guidelines have set in place that you don't even have to have an offer letter. You do have to have 10% down of your own money. That's super important. So it cannot be a gift. 10% down of your own money and 6 months reserves of your own money. Your closing costs and anything over the 10% can be a gift if you need it to be, but you actually don't need it to qualify. And so I've actually helped numerous veterans recently with that when they're leaving. Like I've had someone from the Keys, I've had somebody from Texas leaving, and so, knowing these extra guidelines, like I was telling you, I had somebody from Bahrain right now. Like, if I didn't know these extra guidelines, you need somebody to fight in your corner that understands. That's another thing with low credit scores. I've had veterans call me all the time, like, well, they told me I have a 550, I can qualify. That's not true. Now, there are some things in place, like if you've had a late in the last 12 months, we can't. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, you have to wait until you've only had one late in the last 12 months to qualify. But I'm closing a 563 right now, a 580. Like, there are ways. It's just making sure that everything's in place for it.
About strategy, planning, and how you negotiate. So let's go ahead and kind of expand on that a little bit then. Like, what are some other guidelines that we need to make sure that we're documenting when trying to plan that far out? Because most of us, we look at our orders change in the next 2, 3 years. We're planning that far out, or at least trying to, especially when you're getting out and starting your whole new life. Believe me, it's tough when you start over. But if you plan it right and you strategize correctly, it's going to really help you and set you ahead. So as far as documentation goes, somebody getting out in, let's say, 6 months, right? What and they don't have a job yet. What sort of documentation is going to put them in a home in the next 6 months?
So with VA, they actually allow you to have an employment offer letter that starts within 12 months. Okay. It must have some very specific parameters. So for example, I have a lot of people from the Air Force that try to become a pilot, right? Like afterwards. And a lot of the airlines don't list very specific parameters. So that's where we come in at that 10% down and reserve. So if you have that, forget it. We don't care about things. But a lot of people don't have that, depending on what level they're at whenever they're retiring and how much they've been able to save, right? Um, and so having a letter that starts within 12 months, it has to have a salary, your job position, and your start date. Okay. And you have to be able to occupy with that 12 months too. So that's super important. Okay, there are some exceptions when it comes to that. 60-day occupancy, but there's some small little exceptions.
Right. And obviously everyone's situation is
Mhm.
different, but it's the intention to occupy, right?
Yeah, you can't rent it. So no matter what, even if it's outside that 60, not rent the property. Like that is super important. We are not buying investments. Yeah.
We're
You
not
can
doing
turn them into investments to house hack later. Okay.
we're not trying to commit mortgage fraud here. Military members, you're honorable. You're going to use your VO in the right way to set you ahead. I'm not trying to con. So if somebody wanted to make sure that they're using the VA loan the right way, what should they be asking up front?
So I like to go into payment parameters first. I think that's important. And then also just we're going to talk about deadlines and timelines and so forth. We're going to make sure that we understand, like, okay, this is when we need to start. This is where we're going to going. Like, there's some other guidelines that can help. Like, if your whole family lives in this area, we can write a letter saying that your ties to the community. You know, and listen, when all else fails, even if the lender doesn't want to do it, I'm going to have you call the VA, okay? And we're going to file a complaint. Like, this is why having somebody that knows what you're talking about is so important. Like, ask them, how many VA loans have you done? How many VA loans have you done in the last year? Like, it's super important, and I'm not saying that not everybody can have their first VA loan because obviously I had my right? Like, we all had our first, but it's important to understand, like, what this looks like. I've told plenty of people, like, "Hey, it's not the time to start here," right? I also pay for all of VA appraisals. I think that's super important. That's 650 that you don't have to pay for. Um, no underwriting fee, 12.95. So there's a lot of things that are important. So
Man, whenever I hear you talking, like, guys, just so you know, Ashley, she in my head when I met her, I was like, she is like the senior enlisted who knows all the instructions. She's your go-to girl. Like she just knows all the ins and outs of every single instruction you want to know. But enough kissing butt over here. Like, what questions should every service member ask when the lender before committing?
they should ask, how many VA loans have you done? Do you understand like my situation? Like, how can you help me in my situation? Um, Again, even if you're not in a state I'm licensed in different states, which we'll put in the comments. Call me. I will help you. Like through the process, we'll talk about your situation, and I can. Everybody's situation is going to be different. That's important. Um, they seem like they're just like trying to quickly get you off the phone or pass you off. And also, do not use these big banks. No bank, credit union, nothing. I don't care if they have a military type name in it, are owned by the VA or participate with the VA. Okay. Like, I can't tell you how many credit cards have been marked late for people that are deployed. If you were part of the VA, you wouldn't do that. So please do better by our veterans. Okay. If they're deployed, it should be immediately forgiven. Yeah.
Preach. Yo. All right, let's put it in perspective here. So if you had to simplify it, the VA loan, like what is the VA loan really meant to do for service members?
It's to help you build generational wealth. That's it. Like, it's the perfect tool. Like, you can get into multiple houses with no money out of your pocket with the right strategy and the right partners.
And you know what? I'm be honest with you right now. Like this is the only way I'm here talking to Ashley about it. Is like I was living paycheck to paycheck in Virginia, barely making rent, and then rent went up. So we had to strategize. We had to figure out how to do this, and the VA loan is what stepped us up to the money in the pocket, setting our family up.
And if you're young and you can afford it, depending on the area you're in, buy a multifamily. Now, let me tell you a little trick. You cannot use the rent of the other 3 units if you have no rental history, okay? So you must qualify for the full boat on your.
That's huge, actually. Let me just go into a little bit of what she's. So if it's your first time doing it, you can't use that income from that rental property to help you qualify for them. But she said something very important. I don't know if you caught that. Is like if it's your first time doing it. But what if it isn't their first time doing it?
Then you can. Yep. So then you can. You can use the rent and then we offset it. But if you are like single or you have a couple buddies that also want to live with you and rent from you, buy the quadplex. That's 4 doors that no money out of your pocket. That's money, money, money. That's how you house hack. Okay. And then go do it again.
Hmm? You got house hacking, and then you can rent out rooms. It's just like we said. If you want something, there's always a way to get it done. It's just how you plan, how you strategize for it.
It's a small sacrifice to share some walls for a long term goal.
Okay, so from your perspective, how important is it for buyers to have both a strong lender and a knowledgeable agent when using the VA loan?
100,000 billion 500%.
You
Like,
got,
I can't stress it enough.
there you go. You want somebody who's actually been there, or somebody that actually knows what they're talking about, somebody who's done this before. So where do you see most people go wrong? Excuse me. Where do you see most people go wrong? The loan itself or guidance that they're getting?
They think that they can do 0% down without negotiating a realtor that I think that's a really big thing. That's huge. And having a realtor that doesn't understand that you need to negotiate closing costs and that doesn't want to fight for you. And also a realtor that doesn't want to go like there's a lot of agents that are like, oh, I don't want the VA loan. I love the VA loan. And you know what their number one thing they say is that because it's going to appraise lower. Conventional loans are 7% more likely. Let me say it again. Conventional loans are 7% more likely to underappraise than a VA loan. And if a VA loan underappraises, you have multiple opportunities to get it up. So, for example, I recently had one, sales price was 420 ish, bit over listed. Okay. We went back. It came in at 380 after a Tidewater. Okay. And what a Tidewater is the appraiser says, hey guys, I can't find anything to match this. Send me your comps. Like, show me what you've got. Right. The VA allows for you to go a little bit farther out, explain why. Appraiser came back at 380. I didn't agree with his price. I was like, no. And the good thing is I get to remove his ego because I'm not telling him how to do his job. And I get to go directly to the VA staff appraiser. So I got it up to 404, which was much better. So even though still saved the veteran $21,000, but still I didn't think the 380 was fair either. Okay. So I got to go fight that. And the veteran is now going to move into his house, which is great.
That's true. I tell you the relief that person probably felt.
Oh yeah, it's huge
So overall, like, what do you think the biggest lie people believe about the VA loans is?
that they're crappy. I mean, honestly, and that's the general population. Like, I can't tell you how many times COVID that I would call listing. Oh, okay, so they can go fight for you like in a war, but you can't let them buy your house. Okay.
Why do people still think that the VA loan is like the worst offer in this market?
Because they're like, there's no skin in the game. I'm like, their skin is overseas. I'm just wondering if you watch the news.
They'll literally say that there's no skin in the game. Like, what are they doing out to sea or like overseas all the time? Every
Literally
day, like no skin.
sacrifice all the time. Yet we're talking about houses. Come on, people.
I've been working on my anger management. I'm good. All right. All right. Is it actually harder to get a VA offer accepted, or is that just agent strategy?
Both.
Okay. So is
Both. It's ignorance. And ignorance is not stupidity. It's just the lack of knowledge.
what's something about the VA loans that would shock most people?
A great loan. Like, honestly, like, it's just such a good loan, and I feel like people think that it's not, or the number one thing even from service members or retired veterans, disabled veterans is that you can't get 2, which is crazy to me. Like, I'm like, you can get more than 1. And in some states, depending on ability and prices, you could get more than 2. So,
In my opinion, that was my next question. But like, what makes the VA loan one of the most powerful financial tools available?
walking into more doors with no money, most important. Now, if you're buying in California, it's really hard to get a lot of money down.
So then, how are smart buyers using the VA loan to build wealth and not just buy a house?
Buy more doors. I have teachers, like, that literally make $50,000 a year, and they've sacrificed and shared walls and own 6 stores now
Well, when using a VA loan to buy a multiplex, something to keep in mind is that you have to occupy
for 12 months.
12 months and to occupy. Now, things happen though, right? Like right now, let's say you buy it, you go into it, and all of a sudden, you got orders to go somewhere overseas.
Oh, of course, and that's a completely different thing, right? Like, war happened, but, um, like, if you know you're gonna be deployed, like, that's different, but your family can still live there too. Also, like, if let's say you have a kid and you're not married or whatever, like, their guardian got to live there. There's a lot of different exceptions, like, things that don't happen, but, like, you can't go into it with the intent like, trust me, I will drill you down with that question because I'm not gonna lose my license for your 1 house, okay? So,
Again,
you
not
and the
trying to commit
realtor.
mortgage fraud here.
Yeah, you like, myself, like, I have more realtors, to be honest with you, call me all the time, be like, "Oh, well, can't they say" No. No, 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 no. No, we can't just say. No. Like, I'm
Well,
gonna come they in 60 seconds, they can see if you're committing, occupancy fraud. They will check your light bill, they will check your driver's license, they will check your car registration, they will check what car pulls in that driveway. AI is everywhere.
point. Well, then what's the biggest mistake military buyers are making when using the VA loan,
Not getting closing costs from the seller.
especially in this market? Okay. Should someone use their VA loan on their first home or save it?
The VA loan. If you wanna buy more and more houses, we'll just refinance out of it later, like, if you need more than 2.
That's my advice too. Is it true that you can only use your VA loan once?
Lies.
Lies. Can you really buy with zero down? And is it the catch? I think we've already talked about this one,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, you can.
I guess the catch would be is like closing costs, but today's market,
Yeah, and then listen, you can't go into a house that just got on the market and has a line out the door, okay? Like, you're not gonna get closing costs. Don't blame that on your realtor, okay? That's not their fault.
buying out here. All right. Can you really okay? I think we talked about this one, but what are people not being told about the VA loan?
That you can buy more than that you can cost, that you can buy the rate down, like, there's just so many things. They're just being misled, really.
Does the VA loan a better way to how does the VA loan differ here in Florida than it does in other
I mean, I don't think that it differs, per se, but like I was saying, like if you buy in California, I mean, the price is so high that it's going to be so hard for you to buy another one without down payment because you're not a ton of entitlement left. One more thing let's talk about, okay? Because this is so important. Do not, do not hear me again. Do not allow your realtor to list on your property that you have an assumable loan if you had a 2.75. We are not doing that, okay? Unless you are 98 years old and going into a nursing home and never using your entitlement again, even though that property gets taken out of your name, it stays on your entitlement for the life of the loan. And I don't know about you, but no one's paying off a 2.75, okay? Anytime soon. And so if that person ever short sales or foreclosures, then holds up your entitlement for your entirety of your life. Do not, unless you are in the most desperate situation in life, let your realtor, and this is why you need to talk to someone who has been in your place and understands entitlement. Do not allow it because it's a shiny penny that you don't want anybody to catch.
It's like letting up Steam and Timmy lock up the armory because you had to go to the bathroom. Don't leave your entitlement in someone else's hands.
100% because you're going to get caught with your pants down.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Good looking out for the sailors or service members here. So what should VA buyers look for in a home to avoid issues like insurance, inspections?
I think looking at like your pest control up front, like, and also that's another myth as well, especially down in like the St. Pete area and near water. Um, there can actually be termite damage. Like my husband worked pest control for years, and he'll tell you there's either houses with termites or houses that will get termites. Okay, and so I think that's really important to note. Like as long as it's been treated and there's a bond on it, that's okay. Like you just have like your realtor needs to make sure that it's been treated and has a bond. That's it. So
I had it too until just now. So, what about someone who's watching this right now and they want to use their VA loan? What are the first 3 steps that they should be taking?
call me,
Of course,
call you,
here we go.
and make sure they pay all their bills on time.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, financial responsibility. Make sure you're in a place that you can actually start buying a home.
Set up auto pay for your minimum payments, please. That way, when you get deployed, these crappy companies don't report you late for $25.
They're seeing lists that should be telling them this, but yeah, if they haven't already, yeah, start auto paying everything, making sure your finances are squared away, especially before you get surge deployed or before you going overseas. You got to take care of what's at home first. Have something to come back to. How long does it actually take to go from hey, I'm thinking about buying to oh hey, look at this, there's my keys.
10 days, sometimes 30 days, like 60 days. Depends on your current situation. But I mean, I've closed a VA loan in 10 days.
What's one deal or situation that made you realize how powerful VA loan really?
So I have a client, probably one of my first VA loans. So I learned very quick, like early. I still do a lot of manual underwrites. What a manual underwrite is that means that you've met the guidelines of the 4000.1, which is the VA handbook. Okay. And the VA handbook is very particular, like very specific. There's even a guideline in there that says, yes, we're giving you guidance, but there's situations you might have to make exceptions on. So your goal is to always give the veteran the loan. Okay. And trust me, I have pulled that guideline out a few times. "Oh, really? You don't want my veteran to get a loan? Okay, let me help you. Like, read this, please. Let's call the VA together." And so I had a client that he got hurt on the way to basic training in a car accident, and they weren't going to give him his certificate of eligibility. And I was like, because of time served, and I was like, no, 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 no. He got hurt in a vehicle while he was in basic. No, no, no. I don't care if he served. And so I called every day, and then after that, during the process, I get his certificate of eligibility after months. I had this special VA specialist, Anne. She probably hated me by the end of that because I was calling every day. And his son just came back from T-boned by a car. And I called him and I said, "Hey, listen, you're under contract on a house, and I'm going to give you two options. I'm either going to be your logic right now because you need some place for your daughter-in-law and your granddaughter to move to, and I'm going to be real logical right now and skip the emotions while you and your family grieve your son. And that house has carried his dad dying, his kid dying, raising their grandkid. So that house If I wouldn't have fought so hard for him, they wouldn't have had it. And their payment has stayed low. They've been able to cash out and pay off, realize they would get, like, so many things. Ability.
Safety net. Don't even think about like underutilized resource you can use for the rest of your life if you want.
Absolutely.
Awesome story. So if you can give just one piece of advice to every veteran thinking about buying, what would it be?
Stop waiting. You can't time rates. 2 weeks ago, we were half a point lower. Why didn't you buy then? I mean, stop waiting.
And then it's going to change again anyway. It's like people are waiting for, the perfect time, the perfect headline, or like the perfect situation to make a move. Like life doesn't care what the headline says. Like, just got to build your structure, your strategy around your life.
I paid $133 for gas this morning. I couldn't be like, "Man, I'm not gonna pay that." I have to still drive. Like, you have to still have some place to live.
I don't talk about gas right now. My truck, I think I was like 140 the other day. Like terrible here. But hey, count your blessings, right? We're not in California right now, so could
Absolutely.
be worse.
Or Hawaii.
All
So,
right.
I think just buy.
All right. Well, hey, if you're a veteran or active duty and you're even thinking about buying, reach out. We'll walk you through it. We'll tell you exactly how to use your VA loan the right way. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you. You are a wealth of knowledge, and you truly dropped some golden nuggets in here today. So
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much for having me.